guys, this is Mike Goldstein of Easy Dating Coach. I am so freaking pumped up today. We've got Gary Salyer, and I am so excited because Gary and I literally had to go back and forth for 4 months to finally get this appointment because both him and I are so busy that this was just really hard to schedule. I'm so pumped he's here. He's spent years doing groundbreaking research, and today's topic, safe to love again, how to go from lusting to lasting. Gary, before we hop into it, say hi to everybody.
Hi, guys and gals. How are you doing? Glad to be on the call with y'all.
Yes, Gary.
Yes.
All right, Gary, first question for you. How can you tell if you're in a healthy relationship? And more importantly, what predicts a breakup or divorce?
Okay. I'm glad you asked that. A lot of people will wonder, what goes into a bad relationship. And and I've written on this, and what I argue is that your brain knows when you're really loved by 4 feelings. And those are the basic 4 feelings. It's not, people will say, well, you're fun, flashy, or, you love languages, which are good. They're solid. But what tells you you are loved, and whether you're in a good relationship, are 4 feelings that your brain's been running since you were 1 year old. Your brain knows when you're loved by 1. There's something called attachment theory, and it knows that if you are welcomed with joy in the relationship, that means, they show up and go, oh, I'm so glad to see you. Oh my God, you look beautiful. And, how was your day? Are you worthy and nourished? Do you feel like you can reach out for your needs? Do you feel like they're tracking what makes you happy, what your needs are? That's where, maybe Gary Chapman's love languages come in. Do you feel cherished and protected? And what that is, you get to be a me and you get to be a we. And that we needs to be empowering. It's got your back. If you're a man, you feel respected or appreciated. And then are you empowered with choice? Now, and do you have a voice? Now, if you're feeling all 4 of those, you're in a pretty good relationships. Now, if you're missing 1, you're probably thinking, oh my God, I think we got a few things to work here. 2, and you're probably thinking, I wonder what the number that my best friend's therapist is. And then, if 3 or 4 are missing, that's when you can tell if you're in a toxic relationship. When you're missing 3 or 4 of those, something is very, very off. So you go by getting into your gut and saying, do I feel those 4 feelings? That's your GPS for love. It's your brain's natural GPS for love. And no matter what else is going on, if you don't have all 4 running, something's missing.
That's interesting. I got a question for you about that.
Okay.
Obviously, men and women, we all go in ebbs and flows of happiness.
Yes.
So your number 1 was like, when you see the person, you're so ecstatic to see them. But with the ebbs and flow, you live together with your spouse. So like every 7 days, you're going to be like, whoa, I'm so excited to see you. Or is there like a little leeway on that where maybe one day you're like in a bad mood and it's like, you're still happy to see the person, but you're not like, oh my God, come here, give me a big hug. Like, I'm so excited to see you.
No, welcome with joy doesn't always have to be real high energy. It can be as beautiful as walking in the kitchen and looking your beloved in the eye and go, hey, gorgeous, how's your day going? It can be subtle. It's the fact that you're welcoming them. It's the receiving energy. I am so glad you're in my life. Now, whether that's subtle or effusive and all that, doesn't matter. It's whether there's some joy in your heart that they can see. They are so happy to have me in their life. That's the key. Yeah.
Okay. I understand.
Yes.
Thank you for clarifying that for me.
Yes, I do that just, because it can be, the original welcome with joy is when a mother goes, oh, you're so cute, cute, cute. But, that's the original one. But with adults, it needs to get a little more, grounded. I'll grant you on that one.
I gotcha.
Yes.
All right, Gary. Question number 2 for you.
Okay.
What creates a lasting emotional relationship?
Well, what creates a lasting emotional relationship? Like I said, I come from attachment theory. We've been studying how brains make attachments, which is basically loving connections. In every relationship, the currency is what it's called bids. Bids are when I make a bid for attention. If you're at supper with a couple, they can make up to 200 bids for attention in just 30 minutes. Little subtle things. And the real thing is, how often do we turn toward our beloved? How much, instead of turning away or turning against? Turning toward is, your beloved says, oh my God, did you see that bird out there? Oh, yeah, look at that. And turn toward could be, yeah, nice bird. Or it could even be the more grander version, like, oh my God, that's just like the bird in Niagara Falls on our honeymoon. Can you believe that bird came by the day? Now that's turning toward. It could be like somebody said, I had a bad day at work, and you say, and you drop what you're doing, you get off your cell phone and go, tell me about that. That's turning toward. Turning against is like, yeah, is that really significant, that bird right now? That would be turning against, right? And turning away is where you're just like, you just don't even acknowledge it. Mm. The masters in relationship turn toward each other about 9 out of 10 times. The people who are in stable relationships. And when you turn against somebody or turn away from them, the disasters do that. They turn toward each other only 33% of the time. So the big thing is how are we turning? Are we turning positively, creating with a little fondness and admiration and being attentive? I call that, actually goes under worthy and nourished for me. But we've got to be able to know that in a generation where your cell phone, I forgot mine, is taking so much time, or Facebook. Have you ever walked into a room and saw two people and they're at a date, and they're more interested in their cell phones? While they say, well, this is just what couples do, some part of their brain is saying, hey, this ain't cool. I don't feel connected. So I think that's what predicts lasting.
All right, Gary, I got to do it because I know everyone's thinking it, and some people are having this problem. So you said, 200 things, 200 attention seeking, and yes. Bad couples are doing 30% turning away. All right, so I'm going to play devil's advocate here.
Okay.
Of the couples that are just turning away, how do we get them back on course? And I know that's loaded, and we could spend an hour on that. Give me the first step, something small that everyone could do immediately in their relationship that will start them getting towards the 90% of turning towards each other.
Well, turning toward is, I think what you have to do is realize the other person needs some attention. 200 million years ago, if you're in a, 2 million years ago, if your tribe isn't looking after you, you're probably dead. There's some part of our brain that knows we've got to have that. So the most important thing is just to notice when these bids are happening, and to have the awareness about you that, yes, we all get busy, but at some time that person needs our attention. I talk about the law of attention. It's not so much law of attraction that creates a great relationship, it's the law of attention. You want to basically make sure the other person knows that they are important. By whatever means that. The disasters tend to only turn towards each other a third of the time. That's not good enough. Even though people live on starvation diets that way in relationships, nobody ever feels happy. I think you trust your gut too, and notice their reactions. If they're not really tuning into you, it may be because you haven't tuned into them, or you've got the wrong partner. Does that help?
Oh, that's very helpful. So attention. Talk to me about this. I've been doing this for a number of years, and we always talk about how women need attention. We got that. Now, are you saying that men need the exact reciprocal of attention as well?
We all do. We all do. It just comes out. Now, we have been trained, Mike, to actually think that we don't need attention much. Well, men say something, and the other guy, well, there's no problem going on here. When in fact, some part of us wishes that we could be listened to. Now, it's true that women do need tokens of bonding and bonding, because 2 million years ago, if cave woman doesn't keep a bond with her man and he doesn't bring home the gazebo or whatever. Everybody dies, her and her children. So she's always pinging us, but we need attention too. Little boys seek just about as much attention as girls, although girls do more. We know that from some studies, but we all need that. There's no real difference. You show me a man that wants to be out with his buddies and be completely ignored, and I'll show you somebody that's not happy.
Yes. All right, explain this to me.
Okay.
Our introverted men out there, or as John Gray would describe, even just men that go in their man cave.
Yes.
What can women do for strategy so that we make sure the guy's getting his attention, but at the same time is getting that need to kind of recharge the batteries and enter the man cave and then come back? How do we do that?
Well, I think you have to work that out in advance. A lot of women don't understand that, men don't. We need to recharge our batteries. You simply have to have a conversation that's not based in criticism. Too often when we have our needs, and women do the same, we lead with criticism. Some of the research for couples, and this may be staggering for some people listening in on there, when we lead with criticism or what's called a harsh startup, anything that's not really receptive and warm, if we start with a you or a you statement or something that's criticism, we only get a positive response back 4% of the time. 96% of the time, we will not get an attuned response back. So it's important to say, honey, I know you've been frustrated. And can we sit down for 15 minutes and can we make a plan so that I can get my batteries charged up enough so that I can come and be fully present? And if two people can understand the differences, so she's not looking for exactly another woman to be showing up, and he's not expecting her to show up as another man, then magic can happen. But we have to accept that, he's not a hairy, misbehaving a woman, and she's not an emotionally indulgent man. Respect it and really sit down and talk with respect and really, and find a way that meets both people. So there's a win-win.
Oh, Gary, that was
Yes.
such a great answer. I loved every aspect of that, but I just want to reiterate my favorite part.
Okay.
You talk about a man and a woman being in a relationship, and you said a man should not have another man coming up. A woman should not expect the man to show up as a woman. I love that. You're dating the opposite sex because you're into that, and that's what you're attracted to. And the emotional and the brain and all that stuff, it's not going to be the same as if you're hanging out with your buddy. I love that. Or your girlfriend.
Yes.
Oh, that was great advice.
Well, it's. I think it's helpful to understand the differences in men and women's brains. That's really important. Mm-hmm. Under emotional stress, not only does she have emotional processors on both sides of her brains, and a man only on the right side of his brain. Not only is her emotional memory center twice as big as ours. So if men have ever wondered why they can't win in an argument, it's because their memory is kind of geared for that, But what we know is under stress, her brain will send 8 times the amount of blood flow to her emotional processing centers. She needs to process feelings. Under stress, a man's brain is programmed to throw 8 times the amount of blood flow at his problem solving. So the big YouTube thing, the problem with the nail where the guy's trying to fix the problem and she just wants to be felt. This is what's going on. Men have to realize that when a woman's brain is in that stressful place, the best thing you can do is the way to fix it is to concentrate on the feelings. That's it. What fixes it is the feelings. And if he goes into problem solving, she needs to be able to realize, oh, that's interesting. His male brain's doing what it's programmed to do. Let me tell him what I need. And then he needs to listen. If men and women can understand that this huge disconnect between you don't feel me, we need to get the problem solved, is just how brains are wired, then we can come to understand each other and stop judging each other and stop making each other wrong for that which we cannot control.
Ooh. All right, this question's for me, Gary. I want to know.
Okay.
Sorry, this one's for me, guys. I need one. I need some help, Gary. So when a woman is having emotional stress and it's geared towards her partner, and you said a man needs to solve the problem by not really solve the problem, but help her with her emotional state. How does he do that?
Okay. Well, well, imagine now if she's really into criticism and she's coming after that. What I teach all the couples I work with, whether one side or the other, whether the man or the woman, if there's criticism, what I teach them is it's okay to express. We have a right to have our expression. But we can't express in a way that disempowers the other one from responding well. We want to express our truth in a way that empowers them to give us what we want, not just to vent. That's a losing strategy, but to empower them to respond back. So if it's a negative scenario, what you want to say is, honey, can you say that in a way that I feel good about responding? Can you tell me in a way that on what you really need? And that way they could, and then she has to pop into less you language and more format. Like, so what I noticed is, you walked in and you left your clothes there in the living room, fly on the wall. Right? And I felt really frustrated. And what I would like in the future is, could you pick up your stuff before you go to the den? Not criticism, but just asking for what you want. If the two can get used to stop the criticism, to ask for what they need, and to give the advice in a way that the other can receive it, you'd be surprised how many things get solved before the conflict starts.
Ooh, I like that. And that's interesting. You put the onus back on the woman to communicate in a way where he actually he won't feel hurt and he can actually listen and hear her.
I put the onus back on anybody who begins the conversation.
Oh.
Men are just as good at criticism when they get up. When they get upset, they may think they're being logical. They are not. Neither am I. You and I are once we get triggered, some of the blood flow goes off here and we lose our logic and there's more emotion. So whoever begins it needs to begin it without a harsh startup. Yeah. And in a way, you have to think through ahead of time. I do, and everybody else does, is you have to think through ahead of time how I'm going to say this so that you can empower them to give you what you want instead of just venting. That builds positivity.
Let's talk about the opposite then, kind of what you were just starting to get into. Yes. So the man or me, I come in furious and emotions are running high, and I'm definitely not articulating myself in a healthy way to my partner.
Yes.
What should happen here?
Okay. Now, what happens is if a couple gets what's called flooded or triggered, the Gottman research calls it diffuse physiological arousal. If you're really upset and you can feel you're triggered, there's only one way to deal with that. You need to tell yourself, look, I'm upset, I'm triggered, and I'll be back in 20 minutes, at least 20 minutes or half an hour. And you got to get away, because once you're in that place, your reptile brain turns off all the logical centers up here, and your empathy, and your ears don't hear as well. Your eyes get tunnel vision. You can't even hear what they're saying. Nobody wins. This is your reptile brain taking over your vocal cords. And when people are flooded, do you remember the old scene in Independence Day, where the alien had the doctor's vocal cords and was talking through it? That's what flooding is like. And no good love comes from that place. You have to get away. No one can be loving. So if you're in there, or the other one can say, honey, you seem flooded. Can we revisit this in 20 minutes? Can we find a place to cool down?
So what about, women, what's beautiful about women, and I love this, is that when they see someone in distress, all they want to do is keep being there, keep talking about it. They want to solve it. They want to attach to it.
Yes.
But when a man gets upset, you said he needs to basically take a timeout, a 20-minute timeout.
Yes.
So how does a woman realize, like, hey, I shouldn't go talk to him and distance herself? Because it's very counterintuitive to our nature.
Yes. A lot of times one of the more destructive patterns is if he walks away, which triggers her anxiety. It just, that's why I say you have to be conscious and say, honey, I will be back. And to go and to really get away, not fuse over it and think, oh my God, I'm going to come back here. I can't believe that woman said that. You have to go away, work on your car, watch a game, meditate, whatever you do, right? And really get away from it. But if she pursues, then then they'll both be flooded. This is called the pursuit, withdrawal pattern, and it's deadly to relationships because no good thing comes of it. Because eventually he gets more flooded because now he feels attacked. He feel like it's like in the old, hunter days when you think that the wildebeest is circled around, it just throws you more into attack mode. That's why I argue in my book that love takes a calm brain. People say, well, we want passion, but no one's passionate when they're angry like this. Love takes a calm brain so we can respond and say, later on when they comes back, he can listen, she can listen. I agree. Some of that seems right. I guess I can show up that way. And if we give ourselves that break, then we can show up as our more loving self. And assure her we're going to do so. Not just a lot of men walk away and never come back and deal with her concern. That's not cool either.
Oh, that was beautiful.
Yes.
All right, Gary. You may not know this about me yet, but I'm a huge math nerd and I love science.
Okay.
So we've already started talking about communication and the art of communication. Well, I want you to talk about the science of how men and women can effectively talk to each other. Give me the science behind it all.
The science behind it. Well, we know I think the best couple science to date. I mean, there's a lot of stuff in attachment theory, but for the exact skill set, John Gottman's stuff from the University of Washington is absolutely wonderful. There's lots of things like when men don't share influence, and a lot of men don't. And their women don't feel disempowered. They don't have welcome with choice running or voice. There's 82% of the time, the research says there's a technical term that describes them. They're called divorcees. So if our communicating if we're not responding well in our communication and granting them some of their own power, if we're just empowering ourselves in our communication, that's not so good. Both people need to feel empowered with choice and a voice where we feel respected. I've already mentioned the 96%. If we turn harshly against our spouse, we have a harsh startup, we're only going to get success 4% of the time. I've told that to a few people who, like attorneys, and I go, would you take a case with a 4% chance of winning? No, I wouldn't, especially if you were pro bono, right? Nobody would do that. Would you fix your car if your mechanic said there's a 4% chance it would ever run or would start again? You would not, so you'd find a way to make sure you could get the 96, and that's by turning toward. It's a matter of knowing your sweetheart, whoever you love, deserves positive communication from you. It really is about positivity. The heart and soul of every relationship is the ratio of positivity. Gottman points out that the masters who are staying together, they have 5 positive interactions or words for each other to every 1 negative. And the disasters, it's less than 1 to 1. The funny thing is, if you put these masters in a room and watch them for 24 hours instead of just a couple of hours, they do 20 to 1. That's how much positivity. If you don't have a positive fondness and admiration that's flowing from your interactions and your words, nothing can save your relationship because no one can handle it.
I love that. The rose-colored glasses. Absolutely.
Yes.
Oh, I know what we need to talk about.
Well, could I say something about rose-colored bands? Yes. The shoe on the other foot is we need to give our partner the evidence for that. Okay? We have to make sure we're showing up so that they feel they can respond to us, that they can feel fondness. It's not where I would tell someone who's in a bad relation, you need to start suddenly feel fond. Both of them have to be able to turn toward and increase the amount of things that the other can say is, wow, I feel loved, I feel welcomed, I feel worthy, I feel cherished. So it's both partners realize they have to give and take and set the stage for there to be a positive place.
All right, you're right. Before we switch gears, let's make sure everyone understands the point. So there's got to be at least 5, and experts do 20 things a day to make their partner feel loved. So let's talk about examples.
Okay.
Give me a few examples, and I can give some too if you need help.
Of the negative or the positive, Mike?
Let's just start positive because positive is the good things.
Okay, so a positive would be like, let's see, you walk in and you just say, honey, what's going on? Well, how's your day been? And a real positive way is to just listen for 10 minutes. And you're not looking to fix anything, just to feel that, wow, that must have been horrible. Well, tell me more about that. Oh my God, that happened at work. Well, and to really take their side. That would be a wonderful way. If after work we can have what's called a self-soothing conversation, we can offer the other one just time to defrag and just listen and take their side, be an ally, instead of saying, well, I can see why your boss would say that, because sometimes, you can be a little pushy. Now that's the stuff that creates negativity. It may be true sometimes, but what we want to do is offer people a safe haven for their emotions. And if we can do that for each other, there's more of a chance that they'll turn toward us and there'll be more positivity coming back. How do we give each other a safe haven? That's the deal.
I love that. Such a great way to do it.
Yeah.
All right, now let's go to my favorite topic. Let's talk about romance.
Romance! Got it.
Yes. All right, so we know the common complaint. You've been dating for a while, and of course, men, we're very formulaic. We're like, if X works, I'm going to keep doing X. So I know that if once a month on the fourth Friday of every month, if I bring her flowers, she will like it. Well, guess what, men? Eventually, she's going to catch on that you're doing it, and she's going to get bored of it. So the romance dwindles. Maybe sex is slowing down or stopping. Dates are stopping. Just it's not as great as it once was. How do we get our man to rekindle the romance?
Okay. There is actual research done on this one. There was a study done some years ago. I think it was about 15, 20 years ago. And it's cross-cultural. They did it in 36 cultures. You can't say it's just American Hollywood culture. What they found out is that, let's get some interesting statistics on this one. When men were willing to kiss their woman for at least 6 seconds before they went off for the day, when they came home, when they would freely offer hugs and holding hands and touching, when they would have more eye contact, and they could just have some normal conversations, give them attention. 75% of the time, these men initiated a sexual moment in the evening, they would get a yes. Because when women say that romance starts in the kitchen in the morning, they're absolutely right. Now, after some years, the men who did not do that, they only courted each other, their woman, maybe that once a month, or they got them flowers, which doesn't really work because a woman needs it every day. They got 6% yes. 6. That's what the study said. That's right. After some years, a woman just says, I don't feel enough connection and bondedness. This doesn't feel safe to me. The best way to...
Wait, hold on. We got to go back to this.
Yeah. Yes.
So a guy, when he's not giving affection, 6%, so that means, what's that, like 15, 16 times he's going to ask for sex, and only one of those times he will get a yes.
And how many times have you heard of men in distressed relationships say, I get sex about once a month. Do the math, Mike. Do the math. When finally the woman gives up and she goes, I don't feel loved here for who I am. Some part of her says, this doesn't feel safe. When men make connection on a regular basis, a 6-second kiss and bringing home a daisy, or bringing home a cow, or just really listening to her is so much more important than bringing home 32 roses. Now, it doesn't mean we shouldn't do that from time to time, especially if it's her birthday or something. But what I teach couples is small things often. Small things often is what wins the day, not big ticket items once a month so you can forget about her the rest of the time. Women pick up on that real quick. and then we pay the price in terms of then we don't get the sexuality that gives us our emotional connection. Because men do get more of their emotional needs met that way. But if we want our needs met, we have to meet them on their terms.
Okay.
And it's a beautiful thing when it happens. It really is.
All right, Gary. I love this advice.
Yes.
Now, you know my company is called Easy Dating Coach.
Yes.
We have to make things really easy. So we've got this marriage that went astray, and there's no romance. They're on 6%.
Yes. Yes.
Let's talk strategy for this woman. Now we know what needs to happen. He needs to start asking how her day is. He needs to start making eye contact, hugs, kisses. But he's not watching this. She's watching this video. How does she get him to start doing that again in a successful way that's easy?
That's a very complex question to ask. It really depends on who the man is. I mean, I deal with attachment styles, Mike. And, there are 3 different attachment styles. There's the secure that are naturally feel really great about giving and receiving love. And my definition for them, you want to hear my technical definition for a secure attachment style, the masters, they take no BS, they give no BS. Got that from an 82-year-old woman who was married 55 years. I said, what's the key? I take no BS, I give no BS. Now, but some people are wired for a flight response from the time they're 1, 2, 3, whatever, and they literally tone down their emotional access. Their brains literally pare down some of their neurons given to emotional connection. So they're like wired for 110, right? They go from 220, if 220 is secure, to 110. Then there are the anxious who are, hyper, and they want to always check in. When are you going to go away? When did you text me? If she is married to a man with an avoidant attachment style, and she suddenly tries popping in and saying, I need all this connection, it just throws out all the circuit breakers. He has to do some work. For him, all that connectivity is very, very dangerous. Like, for instance, one client in terms who was very avoidant, and mom's, for all of his childhood, was always in his face. Oh, so he got to the place, I can't be me. I got to get away. I got to get away. So every time he's in an emotionally close relationship, this starts firing off all that. Really do some deep work so that he could reclaim his right to be in a we. He had no right to be in a we. So there's some deep work that comes. If a woman, so if you try some of these techniques with someone for whom more closeness is going to trigger them, there's some deeper work has to get done. But if it's just a normal person, that maybe a guy that just doesn't understand, I think that's where you may seek professional help, someone who can get down with you and help explain why she needs. I think when couples get into these circles, it's very hard to get out of them without some professional help. That's my, or you can use any of those techniques. Hun, can we sit down? What I would really, I just feel really, really, starved. I feel lonely, and I'm not trying to make anybody wrong here. What I would really love is, could you at least kiss me on the way out the door for 6 seconds? And could you, maybe text me sometime and just let me know you love me? If you ask for, ask and say, and then, I'll feel a lot better. And sometimes if they don't, then they're not safe with it. That's what my book's about. Why people don't show up is because they don't have a right to. Yeah.
That's very interesting. I like the end part of that, where you had a tangible way to accomplish it. I love that. And you're totally right. Depending on the attachment style, it could be a whole lot of interesting maneuvers. But I think what's really beautiful about what you said is the why, and coming at it from a curious standpoint. Why do you want these things? Why is our relationship like this? And coming and trying to figure it out. And then once you know the why, well then, I do love you and I do want to give you all that stuff. So let me start stepping it up. Because, we got married or we got in this relationship for a reason. And I want to give you, what you need and what you want in a relationship. When
I work with couples, I work with both singles and couples. when you work with couples, sometimes the most obvious thing is missing that isn't the research. It's like, do you remember that one time you actually loved each other? I mean, sometimes you have to remind a couple, can you believe it that in the middle of all this, you're fighting for both your ways or you both feel so lonely? Do you remember the moment that you fell in love? You know, and couples often rewrite history, but sometimes you have to remind couples, you married each other because you loved each other. Act like it. Act like it. Remember what it's like to be kind. Sometimes it's simple what we have to remind ourselves, the most human thing.
Can I add one point?
Yeah.
That I think is really important? And, you know, I'm not a doctor, but
yes.
Anyway, I think sometimes you really got to fake it till you make it. Like if you, for example, stop having sex or stop looking at each other in the eyes, stop touching each other, stop hugging each other, stop kissing each other, and you don't necessarily fully want to, and that's the reason you stopped because maybe you stopped loving each other.
Yes.
Prime your partner. Tell them like, hey, I realize we have a problem here. I want to fix it. I'm going to go back to being more affectionate just so they're ready for it. And then just start doing it. Like start giving the hugs, start kissing, start looking at each other in the eyes, start asking the questions. If you realize that's the problem, prime the partner, let them know that's happening so they're not like, what the heck, where did this person come from? And then just do it. Even if you don't want to, like go hug, go have sex, go have a kiss, go ask the person how their day's going. Gary, what do you think about that?
I think when both people are willing to make that choice, that would be great. You know, I do think you have to prime the pump. And if someone isn't, it's because, but what can also happen is one says, I'm tired of this distance. Can we change it? You know, you may have to listen to their emotions because sometimes the other one will be saying, yeah, you remember the last time I trusted and then I got my heart broken because you didn't show up or you wanted away again? You know, so there needs to be sometimes to say, hey, you know, I know this wasn't really what we signed up for, and I'm sure that you've been hurt. You may have to listen before you offer that great hug on the couch. But most people can come back. I mean, I've just worked with a couple this week where, you know, they were a young couple and they were in a pretty bad fix, and he had to weather week or two from making some mistakes, and now they're getting all lovey-dovey again. Sometimes there's a little bit of a weight there, but if we work on just listening and offering each other that great love, most times the human heart can come back.
Yes, it's the way back.
The way back. Yes.
All right, Gary.
Yes.
I know you told me at the very beginning of this that you wanted to give all of my watchers something for free. And that is really generous of you, so I appreciate that. Guys, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it down here. So go in the info of the YouTube video, and it'll be a click. You can click to his site, and you'll get this free thing. It's going to be awesome. Gary, what is the free gift you're giving away? And that'll be down here.
Well, I call it, you just go to my website, www.garysalyer.com. And on the right sidebar, you'll see this thing that says Love Notes from Dr. Gary. Now, what that is you'll get a short series of emails, and each of them has this really beautiful 2, 3, sometimes 3.5 minute clip that is from various love experts like Dr. John Gray, Ariel Ford, Sark, Paul Carrick-Brunson, you know, on the Oprah channel and Lifetime, Carol Allen, others, myself. And what we do is we are giving beautiful dating advice for singles and couples. I mean, I actually go over some of the things in my forthcoming book, due out next year, Safe to Love Again, where I talk about these 4 feelings. And so I've tried to gear it so that anybody who wants love, whether they're a couple, whether they're single, can just, you know, put down their coffee, pull up their iPhone, and for 2 or 3 minutes, get something that gives them practical advice or inspires them. And that's what you can do, and you'll get some. You know, then way you can go to Starbucks and have a mocha and inspiration.
Yes, this sounds awesome. I can't wait for everyone to get their hands on it. Gary, you are a genius. I really, really love this interview, and I can't wait to get my hands on your book next fall when it's finally done with the editing and everything. It's going through it right now, I hear.
It is.
Yeah, grueling process, I know. Thank you so much for finding some time to come be on this show with us. We're very fortunate to have you. So thank you so much.
Well, Mike, thank you, because I'm fortunate to be here. I mean, you are doing wonderful work for love, and the more love we get out the universe, God knows we need it. So it's great being on the same team with you.
Of course, my friend. All right, Gary, we'll see you hopefully soon.